Welcome back to this week's Thought of the Week. And Becky's back with us. Nice to see you, Becky. I'm wondering this morning how you get ready for Christmas, Becky. Because over the last couple of Christmas Thought for the Weeks, we've been thinking about how the angels declared that Jesus being born was good news for all people everywhere.
Yeah.
So whatever country you live in, Christmas is celebrating the birth of Jesus. And last week we were looking at the wise men and how they travelled from a different country to visit the baby and to bring special presents. And Christmas today is pretty much celebrated in almost every country of the world by some people. But everybody celebrates Christmas in a slightly different way. The traditions I have in my house are probably different to the traditions in your house. So I'm really keen to know how you celebrate Christmas, Becky, and to see how that differs to other places in the world. So do you have a Christmas tree, Becky?
Yes, absolutely.
And what does your Christmas tree look like?
Well, so at the moment, I'm actually living with my sister in her house, and she always has a really big, fat, real Christmas tree that sits in the corner of our lounge.
I've got one white artificial tree and one real tree that's in the garden that we sometimes put lights on, and it's in a pot, so we bring that in the house sometimes as well. But in New Zealand, believe it or not, this is what their Christmas trees look like.
Oh.
In New Zealand, Christmas on the 25th of December falls in their summer. It's winter here, but it's summer because it's halfway around the world. And the reason that they have this as their tree, because they don't need to decorate it, because it blooms with bright red flowers in December.
I'd never thought about the fact that you wouldn't necessarily have fir trees in other countries. That's cool.
Yeah. In New Zealand, they don't, and it's a plant in the garden, not something they bring in the house. What about this one? How do you decorate your Christmas tree, Becky? What's your ornaments like?
Well, if it was up to me, I would do it all kind of silver and white, very colour coordinated, trying to be a little bit sophisticated. I think my sister is a bit more multicoloured, all the kind of decorations that people have given her over the years. Yeah, lots of tinsel, lots of baubles, lots of fun stuff.
Do you have an angel or a star at the top?
Oh, we have a star.
Because that reminds us of the star that the wise men followed.
Yeah.
I have an angel because that reminds me of the good news that the angels brought to the shepherds. Did you know, believe it or not, in the Ukraine, this is what they decorate their house with, their Christmas tree with. It is unusual. They decorate the Christmas trees with spider's web decorations because it reminds them of a folklore of a very poor lady who had no money at all for Christmas decorations. And during the night while she was sleeping, a spider came and cast its web all over the tree, and it turned silver overnight, so she had enough money to live. Bit of a Ukrainian legend for you. Great story, isn't it? Okay, so what time do you eat your Christmas dinner, Becky?
Well, it probably depends whose house we're at and who's cooking. I think if my mum's in charge, she quite likes to have it, you know, lunchtime, the sort of 1 o'clock time at the latest, really, would be her ideal, so that you can get all kind of eaten and cleared up before the Queen's speech. Very important. But if my sister's in charge, then probably it could be a little bit later, kind of maybe mid-afternoon time. I think that's what we did last year.
But believe it or not, did you know in Norway, they eat their big Christmas feast meal on Christmas Eve? What will you eat for Christmas dinner? What's your favourite bit of Christmas dinner, Becky?
All of it. Turkey, stuffing, pigs in blankets, roast potatoes, even the Brussels sprouts. I really like those for my Christmas dinner.
See, mince pies are the best. Would you believe me? Or would you think I was a little bit crazy if I told you that in Japan, for Christmas dinner, they eat KFC?
Well, that's not what I was expecting to happen.
It's usual to have a KFC for Christmas dinner on Christmas Day. And restaurants, KFC restaurants around Japan, book up months in advance so people can get their KFC on Christmas Day.
And is there a reason for that?
Not as far as I know,
Mm.
but that is what they eat. We've been looking at some of our nativity characters, haven't we? And we've looked at the joy of the angels and the eagerness of the shepherds because they wanted to check out the good news, and the perseverance of the wise men because they went on that epic journey following the star in order to make sure that they delivered the gifts to this important and special baby. But I thought we could think about Mary and Joseph. Some of those weird facts that I gave you for traditions around the world can be a little bit hard to believe unless you see it for yourself, can't they?
Especially the one about KFC.
Personal favourite. But Mary and Joseph were really obedient to God. We hear at the very start of the New Testament, don't we, how Angel Gabriel visited Mary and told her she was going to have a baby. And I imagine that was really quite hard to believe. But the angel had said that she was very favoured among women and she was going to have a baby that was going to be God's son. Now, Mary might have gone, no, that's not going to happen. But she didn't. Her answer to that was, your will be done. Let it happen. Which I think is amazing because this was going to be difficult for Mary. Mary would possibly be treated badly. People would think she'd done something wrong that she shouldn't have done. And it possibly was going to be a bit dangerous for her as well. But even though Mary knew that that was going to happen, that could have happened, that people would think badly of her, she was obedient to God because she trusted him. But what about Joseph? Joseph was told by Mary that Mary was going to have a baby. Joseph wasn't the daddy. God was the daddy. Joseph loved Mary. And even though he loved Mary, this would have been really difficult news. He would have had to have thought very carefully over how he was going to handle that. Joseph had a dream. And in the dream, the angel told Joseph that this baby was God's and God was going to look after them. And God wanted Joseph to look after Mary and his child to help Jesus grow up. Now, if somebody asked you to do something really difficult, have you said yes or no to it? I think what really helped Joseph and Mary was the fact that they loved and trusted God. So they knew who was asking them to do something amazing, but very difficult. And even though they were asked to do that, they still said yes and they still did it because they trusted God. And they knew to be obedient to God because God's had a plan that was going to turn out great in the end, even if it was going to be very difficult at the time. And a Bible verse I wonder that if Joseph and Mary both knew, and I imagine that they would have known, would have been this, because it's in the Old Testament. And it's trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. He will tell you where to go. And Joseph, I imagine, would have known this, and Mary, both of them would have known this. But because they trusted in God, Even though they didn't understand, they knew that God had a plan and God would direct the steps and God would protect them and God would protect the baby and it would be okay because they could trust God. And in the Bible, we read about how Jesus was an answer to a promise. And they would have read all the things in the Old Testament that proved that God could be trusted. So they put their trust in the messages of the angels, that this is what God wanted them to do. Whether or not you believe the facts that I gave you about the Christmas traditions are up to you. But if you trusted me, you were more likely to believe what I said.
Yeah.
And Mary and Joseph trusted God because they knew him and they'd spent time with him and they prayed to him and they trusted the angels. So I'm wondering, who do you love and trust and listen to? And why? And how do you show them that you love them and that you trust them? And if we love people, we like to listen to them. And for a Christian, we've read the things in the Bible and we've seen that God has kept so many promises, and we've read the things of Jesus's life which Mary and Joseph didn't have but we have today, and that builds our love and trust. And I show God that I love him by remembering the Christmas story, but also show my love and trust for God by reading the Bible and trying to do the things in the Bible that it asks me to do that I find difficult today. Things like putting God first, even when I want to do my own thing sometimes. And don't be greedy and things like that are all in the Bible, the 10 Commandments and many other things. Love your neighbour as yourself isn't always easy. But I do try, because that's my way of showing God that I love and trust him and I want to be obedient. We've been learning this prayer over the last 3 weeks now, the Nativity Prayer, and we've seen the joy of the angels in the first week and the eagerness of the shepherds. And last week we saw the perseverance of the wise men. And today we've looked a little bit of the obedience of Mary and Joseph. But Christmas is about peace as well, the peace of the Christ child. So I thought we could read this prayer together today. And if you agree with my prayer at the end, just say Amen. Shall we read it together? A nativity prayer. May the joy of the angels, the eagerness of the shepherds, the perseverance of the wise men, the obedience of Mary and Joseph, and the peace of the Christ child be ours this Christmas. Amen.
Amen.
And we wish you a Merry Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Yeah, have a fantastic Christmas, everyone, and a really happy new year.
And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.